NAACP has belonged for about 4 or 5 years to a group called the Montgomery County Jail Coalition. And we began looking at the large number of people in the county jail during the pandemic. And during that time, we other issues came up. And we proposed not building a large jail. Again, other issues came up in regards to that, and we've now focused ourselves on those other issues. So you have 2 minutes, the candidates for county commission. And one of those issues came up that some people in the county jail have mental illness, alcohol, and drug addiction issues. The question, candidates for county commission, how would you be an advocate for alternatives for people with mental illness, alcohol, and drug addiction in our county and not in the county jail? We'll start with Ms. Lisa.
Thank you, Tom. Yes, this has been an issue that we have had growing for years and years. County Sheriff told us probably 7 years ago that over 50% of the men and women in the county jail are either mental health or drug addiction issues. So we heard the jail coalition. Prior to that, we had a jail study, and the study that had a panel and a whole group of community members came to us and said, you need to build a new jail. Well, hearing from our friends at the jail coalition and others, we decided that maybe building a new jail wasn't the option. Plus, we didn't really have $200 million to build a new jail. So we asked for input as to what would other steps be, and what we've landed on is we're going to put what we're calling a mental health facility in the county jail. And that will consist of 112 beds. Right now we only have 12 beds that are mental health and addiction beds. And this will now have 112 beds, medical beds, and when someone comes into the county jail through the Sally Court or from a judge, they will not necessarily go directly to the jail part. They would go to this mental health unit that will be staffed by experts, doctors, nurses that are able to treat them. The reason that we're having to do this is because we don't have enough mental health beds in this county. We just don't. And so we have looked at what can we do, and we are spending ARPA dollars on that. It'll be about a total of about $1 million, but we're renovating the jail, and we're making sure that the men and women that are in there are getting the treatment that they need. And again, it is not something that we wanted to do, but as we look throughout the whole country, that's the model that's being used.
Yes, as many of you know, we've had a problem regarding the Montgomery County Jail, and it is a serious problem. It is something that I think involves each and every one of us in making sure that people are treated in a humane way. The mental health challenges that we have in that mental health in that facility require a deeper look. I think many of the people, and you've seen some of the issues that have happened in the Montgomery County Jail regarding individuals who have been mistaken as being citizens that are simply criminals and not necessarily looked at for mental health. That needs to be looked at by allowing the county to have the services that they need to be able to meet people's lifestyle. There are lots and lots of challenges that are in these individuals' lives, and they're not getting it outside. We need to make sure that we're together in making those decisions and making sure that people are taken care of and all their needs are being met if they are to come into the county jail. I am sad about it because I've known some of the individuals that have gone through it. And I do believe that having citizen involvement and continuously having citizen involvement is what's necessary to be able to meet the needs, as well as making sure that we adequately fund the jail so that it can do the services that citizens need.
Let me ask the candidates for judicial race. You heard the question about the Montgomery County Jail. A lot of it lies on the steps of the judges putting people in the county jail. I'd like to ask you, what would be your answer if we would ask for alternatives to being in the county jail? Would you be receptive to a pre-indictment diversion program? Yes, Jen?
Yes.
Okay.
So I think my perspective as currently I'm with the Public Defender's Office, and I've been with the County Public Defender's Office since 2011, and I believe that alternatives to incarceration prior to sentencing are always valuable. Our office has had a very robust social work department for the last 5 years, and I think the courts in our county have found that to be very valuable. We've gotten people linked with supportive housing, with medical care, with supportive employment, and those steps that they've taken have gotten them into inpatient treatment rather than having them sit in the county jail. And so opportunities to address underlying issues that may have caused involvement in the criminal justice system are always valuable. And if we can do that and we have a solid program that makes sure we are still holding people accountable and that we are addressing their needs, we put them in a better position so that they are less likely to reoffend, and we put the community in a better position because we have people who can come back out into the community, can continue to contribute to our community and to build up. So I think it would be a valuable option if we can make it work with all the parties. Keep worrying, I'm going to knock that chair over. So as judge, I presently am responsible for people being incarcerated in the Montgomery County Jail, and I take personal responsibility. I am constantly checking on them, making sure they're getting medicine, they're getting what they need while they're in the jail. I have about 27 people on my docket presently in the jail this week. I don't believe everybody obviously on my docket should be in jail. I think if you're a pre-trial if you're awaiting trial, like the question said, you shouldn't be there just because you can't afford to pay a bail. So we have alternatives. We use conditional owner cognizance bonds. We have GPS only tracking. We have electronic home monitoring tracking. So really the only people who should be in jail prior to trial are those who are a flight risk or those who present a risk to the community. And those, so yes, and other things that we are doing is we're working on alternative outpatient treatment for mental health, people that present with mental health issues. So I'm very open to alternatives to pretrial incarceration. We're doing them all the time. And we really want to keep as many people out of the jail as possible because, like I said, it should be used for a limited purpose.
And just so the question I really want to get response to was pre-indictment. So not once they're indicted, treated with them. So just keep that in mind. I won't come back to it, but just so you understand, I was searching for a response to pre-indictment, which is, as you know, different than indicting. Let's take
just to respond to that, if it's pre-indictment, the court doesn't always have, the common pleas court wouldn't always have jurisdiction over those bail issues. Those often fall within municipal courts if there are charges filed pre-indictment.
Thank you, appreciate it. Let's stay with the courts for a minute. As I was reminiscing, I started my career in the clerk's office under Jess Norris anyway, let me ask you this. We have the incumbent clerk of courts. We have a challenger to the clerk of courts. I think most people know the clerk's office is the custodian of court records, exhibits, and things of that nature, and auto titles. So where you would go to get your auto title exchanged. The incumbent clerk is here. The challenger is here. Let me ask the incumbent candidate for clerk of court, why should we retain you as clerk of Common City Schools? 2 minutes.
Thank you, John. Thank you to the NAACP, and thank you to Grace United for having us here. I take great pride in being a clerk. I'm proud to be on the cutting edge of clerks in the state of Ohio. We add services. We provide excellent service when it comes to court records. And we also run the auto title division. So technology is extremely important to our office, as is being a good custodial of the tax and monies for the state and the city. My background has mostly been in small business. So I've been up in the Dayton, Ohio for about 28 years. Came up here, been a small business owner after being in the military for 8 years. So my background has been small business, so customer service has always been a key component to success. After that, I was a deputy registrar, which means I was hired to run a BMV division. I had the one in Huber Heights for 12 years. So that's where I actually found out how one of the divisions of the clerks actually ran with the auto title division. And then after that, I wanted to give back to the community and wanted to be a leader here in the community. So I ran for clerk of courts. I'm proud to be the clerk, and I'm proud to bring innovative ideas to the county and save money for the county. Thank you.
All righty, thanks. Thanks, NAACP, for hosting us and giving us this opportunity. I have been a public servant for 23 years. 21 of those years has been with the clerk's office and the courts. I started my career at the clerk's office as a part-time scanner, and I worked my way through all the way up to chief deputy of the clerk's office that I want to run from. It's important for me to say this, that I am the unindicted candidate for this race. I think it's very important that this race and that this office holds the highest level of integrity. You citizens deserve to have that there. So I fell in love with serving the community and using public service and being a public servant all those years ago. I worked my way through. I loved civil division. I learned criminal division. I was part of the technology of creating the electronic filing system, which created access to justice. I'm also right now I created the PRC, which is the Probate Resource Center, where we actually provide free legal services to minor probate needs. And I'm also very proud of my contribution with the Montgomery County Behavioral Task Force. Every one of us here has had some touch with mental health. And I've been part of the system or a group that is breaking the silos down and making sure we're talking. I've helped the police and law enforcement get the data for mental health people. So when they have a call, they're going to know that somebody has mental health, and that can help de-escalate situations out in the field. So I hope that my long-term public service in helping the community will help you decide on who is the best candidate.
Thank you, Kathy. There have been over 30 homicides in the city of Dayton. A lot of those were guns, semi-automatic weapons. We just buried a 14-year-old on Friday, in her bed, shooting. I'm not clear if it was at her house or the house next door, but a 14-year-old should not be killed while sleeping in her bed. In Columbus, there was an individual sleeping in his bed as well. So for the candidates for the Ohio legislature, what would your position be on the issue of banning and regulating guns and semi-automatics for the safety of incumbents? We'll start with you. You both challenge. today, aren't you? Yeah. So we'll start with this.
First of all, I want to thank the NAACP and all its partners for hosting this event. It's very important that you make informed decisions when you go to the ballot box. First of all, I do believe in law and order. I do believe in the rights to protect ourselves. We have laws on the books that just need to be enforced and regulated. We need to come together as a community to see what changes need to be made. Number one, we always have to be sure that families are intact, that communities have what they need to support each other. I also believe that everyone in the community, they say it takes a village to raise a family. It does. And so the question for all of us is, where are our children? How are our homes secured? Do we have law enforcement as such that represent the interests of the people? Do we have opportunities to change behavior that supports gun violence? And I do believe that we are required to protect the interests of ourselves, our communities, our children, our institutions, and especially our businesses.
Well, I want to just first thank the NAACP for hosting this canvas forum. I want to thank you, Tom, for moderating. And I want to thank each and every one of you for showing up. This is a very important election, and we must make sure that we elect representatives who are going to represent our communities to the best of their ability. You know, I've been on the front lines of bringing common sense gun policies to our communities. I am a huge supporter of the Second Amendment, but we must have responsibility with that as well. You know, just like how with the First Amendment, you can't just run into a movie theater or a place of business and yell, there's a bomb or there's a fire, that induces panic. So I believe that with the Second Amendment, we have to have responsibility. We need policies such as universal background checks. We need red flag laws. A bill that I just introduced a couple of months ago was to ban mass casualty weapons. And I got a lot of flack for that. But one thing that people fail to realize, this was a law that was put in place prior to 2017. And this was something that was took out of our law books during lame duck. A lot of people didn't know that this was something that was already a law. And you know, it really hurts my heart to see our young people have to go through some of the things that they have to go through. That 14-year-old girl, she actually was at my church that Sunday, right before she got killed. So much life to live, so much promise, and you know, nobody should have to fear for their safety in our communities. And gun violence has continued to run rampant in our communities, and we must put policies in place that is going to protect each and every one of us.
Same question. You have the same kind of question.
Do you want to repeat the question?
Sure.
Thank you.
I think there have been over 20 homicides in the city. And the question is basically, what would your position be as it relates to legislation and dealing with ownership of guns and semi-automatics and regulating arms for consumer safety?
Thank you for that question, and thank you all for showing up tonight, and the rest of you for putting this on. It is very important that we educate the voters, and you are part of doing that. And thanks to everyone who's tuning in as well. I am a sensible gun owner myself. I use guns for sport. I believe that they are tools. I don't believe that they should be used to intimidate people, be used recklessly, and I don't believe that weapons of war belong in the hands of civilians, especially without background checking those folks. I think the best way that we can handle the issues with guns is going through insurance agencies. If you have to buy a personal liability policy for a gun, that would certainly help with the types of guns that are sold and offered to people. I think there should be an age limit as well. When you look at the statistics, and I am a candidate that will absolutely require you to bring evidence. I don't like people to say my opinion, I believe, because that doesn't matter. I need to see the evidence, and we know that the leading cause of death among our kids is guns. So to me, that means we need to have less guns, and those of us that are going to be responsible gun owners should be responsible gun owners. And if we can legislate that, I am all for it. Thank you.
Thank you.
So you're running for Congress.
Independent candidate running against Mike Turner for Congress.
And our position as NAACP has been voting support the John Lewis Voting Act. What would your position be on supporting the John Lewis Voting Rights Act?
The Voting Rights Act? I'd like to talk about the guns.
Well, I want you to answer about John Lewis. That's our #1 congressional issue.
Okay.
We can come back to guns. I'll let you say that later.
Okay, well, let me speak on guns first, and then we can come back to John Lewis, because this is very important. Look, folks, we can't solve, gun deaths by just banning them. I've been out of the country. It's been nice, in countries that don't have guns, there's a lot less violence. We have a problem with the reasons for violence here in the United States. Our kids we need more education. We need to reduce the stresses of everyday life on people. We're the richest country on earth. We need to provide for the material needs of our citizens. Better schools, better teachers. How about a government jobs program? Let's reduce the stress on people. If you go ahead and ban guns, you're gonna disenfranchise 50% of the population. How can the working class of this country unite against the 1% that's ruling our everyday lives if you alienate 50% of the working class of this country? Okay? So my proposal, no gun bans, and let's work with working class Republicans and people on common sense stuff like education, investing in healthcare, doing a government jobs program. How about we end the war on drugs? That would reduce a lot of gun deaths in this country. Suicide is the biggest cause of gun deaths in this country. So how do we reduce suicides? Life is stressful. We're the richest country on earth. Let's give the wealth of this country back to the working class, and let's reduce the stress. Let's take the knee off the neck of the working class in this country, and that's how you'll reduce gun violence in this country. Thank you.
So, thank you. And we may come back to another question. I would like to ask the incumbent treasurer and recorder. You are incumbent members in your position. Why should you contend in that position? A 2-minute question.
Thank you, Senator Roberts and President Forward and the NAACP for having us this evening. This is a great turnout, so thank you to everyone for being here as well. Again, I'm John McManus. I'm the Montgomery County Treasurer. I was elected in 2020. I took office in 21. And before that, I was elected to the Dayton Board of Education in 2015. Some fellow former board members in the room, Mayor Mims, and I saw Ms. Reiner, and Mr. Walker's here. Thank you for your service on that board as well. I've worked in government all my life, various positions in federal, state, and local government, and it's been a real honor serving as your county treasurer. The 3 main functions of that job are to serve as the county's banker, investment officer, and property tax collector, which I know is a really fun topic all of the time. And but we have 253,000 parcels across the county, and I'm responsible for the collection of revenue on those parcels that will hit $1 billion this year. Why should you keep me? Well, a couple of reasons. Number one, I'm really proud of the work we've done in turning around the delinquent tax trends here in Montgomery County. I'm on track with my team to collect about $130 million in delinquent taxes alone in 4 years, which is a huge boost to our local schools and all those different entities who rely on those dollars. Our investment fund has soared beyond projections. I see 30 seconds, which is great. We've earned about $50 million in about 3 years. That's money that can be reinvested back into the community. And our monies on deposits are safe and secure with strong internal controls. Really proud about that. And I'll talk a little bit about my role on the land bank. I've sent about $6 million to the land bank, and a lot of that has gone to tearing down all of these absurd abandoned properties all across our community. And I want to tear down more. Thank you.
Thank you, NAACP, for holding this, and President Forward and Senator Roberts for facilitating. I'm STACEY Benson-Taylor, your Montgomery County Recorder. And since being appointed as the recorder last May for our former recorder, Brandon McLean, I have hit the ground running. As your reporter, I have started an Exposing Deed Fraud campaign. We're responsible for the recording, maintaining, and protecting of all property records in Montgomery County. So your deeds, your mortgages, all documents related to your property is recorded in our office. And so what I found is that I'm not just responsible for protecting records, but I'm also responsible for protecting your property. And so our Exposing Deed Fraud campaign was created so that we could get out in the community and let people know that people are really still in houses and that we needed to be vigilant in enrolling people in our fraud alert notification system. Since our Exposing Deed Fraud campaign started in December, we had 13,000 properties enrolled. We now have over 26,000 properties enrolled. And so what I know is that people are learning about this real problem. From that problem, I realized that we needed to have a good deeds program where we had a vehicle so that people could bypass probate. Because I also learned that people were not going to probate in our communities. And so we now offer transfer on death designation affidavits and confirmation affidavits in our office so that the members of our community can transfer their property to their relatives as a beneficiary and bypass probate. Something that would save our community and save our properties. And the last thing is our veteran mobile program, where we now record DD-214s and issue veterans IDs in the community. Last month, I did 21 veterans IDs in the community. I did 14 community forums at neighborhood meetings, and so my goal is to take the services we provide to the community, and to do that, I need to stay as your county reporter.
Thank you very much. You're right on time. You know, I make mistakes once in a while. I make 2, maybe 3 tonight. The individuals, these 2 individuals are running for Congress. And this is why he wanted to answer the gun question, because I asked her. So that was my first mistake. And I left this young lady out altogether. So I'm going to come over here and let Rose answer the gun question, okay? Those are my 2 mistakes for the night.
Well, we'll allow you 2 mistakes. I think that's very fair. Thank you so much. Gun violence is something that is really personal to my district. House District 36 includes the Oregon District, where we all know in 2019 there was a mass shooting, 27 people shot and 9 killed in 32 seconds. Our current representative, who represents our district after that shooting, when we gathered in the Oregon District, we all know what we asked our leaders to do. What did we ask them to do? Do something. And what did they do? Actually, they did something. They went to Columbus and they loosened gun laws repeatedly. That's the kind of representation that we currently have on gun violence in our state, so it's not a surprise when we hear statistics like a 14-year-old child being shot in our streets, 20 people being killed in Dayton. It's not a surprise when people like my opponent go to Columbus and they vote for permitless concealed carry, which is something that is even opposed by our police officers. Or they vote for legislation to loosen gun laws, allowing teachers to be armed with minimal training. It's true that it actually requires more training to be a licensed barber in Ohio than to carry a gun into a school building. That is true. I'm a former public school teacher. I've done active shooter drills with my students, and I'll tell you, it's nothing short of traumatizing. After the Sandy Hook shooting, we were taught how to take out active shooters. I was taught to tell my students to spread out around the classroom so they would be less of a mass target. That kind of training is being done in every single school in Dayton, and we should be appalled by it. It is not education, it is combat training for children. So gun control legislation that I support would be things like limits on high-capacity magazines, red flag laws, and allowing municipalities to pass gun laws such as safe storage for handguns. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, and I apologize for warning all of these things. Let me ask you, because President Ford made a profound statement about our concern about Project 2025. I want to ask each and every one of you a 2-minute question. What is your position on Project 2025? You understand the question? Okay, we'll start here and work our way down.
Thank you, Senator. I am totally opposed to Project 2025. I believe that it is legislation that will harm the constituents that the NAACP serve, but not only the constituents that the NAACP serves, but our communities as a whole. The amount of rights that proposed legislation would be taken away. Just the paragraph or the part about taking away and removing language like discrimination and equality and equity and diversity. Just that language in and of itself rolls things back to a place that we definitely don't want to go. And so I think that people need to educate themselves. People need to understand taking the rights that we have vested in our legislatures and putting them into our role of the president and allowing that person to have absolute control, dangerous for our country. We cannot say that we stand for democracy, and we cannot say that we support and want to protect our republic and say that we support that legislation under any circumstances. That there is no excuse for anyone who is running for office and believes that we must serve our citizens to say that there is anything good coming out of Project 2025.
Absolutely. Thank you for the question. I am absolutely opposed to 2025 as well. I believe strongly in the checks and balances of what our founding fathers set up for our democracy. The executive branch, the judicial branch, and the legislative branch. They all have to check each other. And if 2025, if that comes into play, it's going to be more of a one rule, and that's up at the presidency. It's scary to me. I don't want to go back. I don't want women to lose rights, even more than what they're trying to do. I don't want voting rights to go back to what they were back in the 50s and 60s, or weren't, I should say. I'm sorry, that what they weren't. So I really believe that we have to stand strong. There's great education out there. The more we can talk about it, the more we can educate people about what they're trying to do, and to have one rule and to have somebody say have all that power is just absolutely terrifying to me. So I'm opposed to it.
Well, thanks for the question. I'm going to have to agree with the two ladies to my left on most of that. I'm not well versed on the Project 2025 or the inner workings. I know it's not good for most communities, so at this stage I would say I'm against it, but I'd like to know more about it to make a wise decision on the question on the subject. Thank you.
I agree. I haven't read it, but from what little I have heard about it, it seems off the wall, and so I don't support it. And we're going to have to do some logistics here with this cord. Sorry, Mr. President. There we go. Okay, there we are. All right. Ms. Mayor.
Again, I am in agreement. I do believe in our Constitution as it stands, and I believe in democracy, and that is what has worked all of these years, and I believe that's what continues to work. So again, that's my answer.
I too am in agreement. Project 2025 is very scary. I've dug into it a little bit. Of course, it's huge. I don't know if any of you saw during the Democratic Convention, but you know when Keenan dropped the big book. I mean, it is huge. But there's many concerning things that have already been addressed. But they say in their tome that on day one of the next administration, their goal is to deconstruct the administrative state. Now, the administrative state is what runs this country. Whether it's good or bad, you can't eliminate every time a new president comes in, you can't eliminate every federal employee, and that's what this calls for. I mean, and so it would be all political appointees running our country. And good or bad, again, our bureaucracy, they often are the ones that keep things moving. And it's very scary. The second scary thing, because I am running out of time, which just goes so fast, doesn't it? They want to ban all public sector unions. That's part of it. Ban all public sector unions. So, you know, it is absurd, it sounds like, but this is something that they are all in agreement on, the conservative plan, and we can't allow that to happen. So I am definitely opposed to it.
Thank you very much. We're going to skip the judicial candidates because by their judicial code of ethics, there are certain questions they cannot answer. And so we're going to pass on that and go back to the legislature and ask them and Congress this question. Okay. Yes.
I'll just agree with many of the people who have said this is not the direction that I think any of us want our country to go in. Project 2025 is basically if you wanted to live in a white Christian nationalist nation, then you're probably for it, and I don't think any of us really want to live in a nation like that. With mass deportations of people, women losing the right to vote, women losing the right to their bodies. This is not the kind of nation any of us want to live in, and I most certainly don't. And one of the reasons I'm running for office is because I want to fight against those forces. Obviously, we see that at the national level, but we see those same kinds of interests here in the state of Ohio, and that's why I'm running to represent us here in Ohio, because I believe in democracy. Yeah.
Thank you. I believe in a constitutional republic which says government of, for, and by the people, and we are open to policy think tanks. Since the inception of this country, there have been policy groups, and not only the Heritage Foundation, but several. And I think our elected officials have a right to get information from all that we, through our checks and balances with our three branches of government, the legislative, judicial, and executive branch, can best represent the people based on what we are receiving through your elected officials for what is good for this country. Even in the state board, we get position papers to affect policies all the time, ever since, and I've been there for 7 years. But even in getting those position statements, we should not use organizations, whether it's philanthropic, NGO, which is a non-government organization, as a way to gaslight when we need to use, our elected officials need to consider how will this policy affect the people in Montgomery County? How will it affect the people in the state of Ohio? We shouldn't shut anyone down. In a free country, we should be willing to receive all sides, and then those who are elected to represent us need to do what is best based on informed consent from those who voted for them. Thank you.
confusing me.
What is the president?
All right, well, I am totally against Project 2025. You know, I tell people all the time, you know, policy can move a community forward or it can take a community back. We are not going back and we must not go back, which is very important that we do whatever we can to make sure that Project 2025 does not come to life. But I want to take a step further. We are seeing many Project 2025s in our legislatures around the country, in particular in Ohio. For far too long, this district has been represented by MAGA extremists. Now my question to each and every one of you, just think about this. When is the last time you've heard from your state senator about some of the policy positions and some of the votes that he has taken in the legislature? I'm gonna take it a step further. When is the last time you either seen me out in the community? A lot of you have my phone number. A lot of you see me out and about. When is the last time you've come to me about some of the policy issues and some of the things that I've been advocating for in the State House? Here's the thing. It's so easy to hide behind some of these policy positions. But guess what? I've been front and center trying to fight for in Ohio, for an America that works for each and every one of us. When you think about Ohio, when you think about America, it's built off of diverse ideas. We all come together, we all work together to make this thing work. When you look at policies and initiatives such as Project 2025, this doesn't work for all of us. It only works for some of us. So we need to make sure that we are electing leaders who are, one, going to stand on the policies and some of the things that they're doing in the legislature, but then two, do what's best for our community. Because for far too long, our communities have been ignored, and we need a champion at the State House.
Project 2025 is hot trash, in my opinion. And any of you that have taken some time to read it, okay, I just want to make sure you guys remember what I said, because that is my opinion on it. I was a public school teacher for 15 years. One of the first things Project 2025 does is shut down the public school system. There's over 900 pages of garbage, and it is the federal playbook. It is their policy playbook. The Heritage Foundation, a well-funded think tank, came up with it, with the help of a lot of people on that side of the aisle. So when they don't come at you with any policy for healthcare, education, how you're gonna make more money to support yourselves, healthy communities, a clean environment that's not gonna catch on fire, they don't have any of that. They have a fascist playbook, and it's called Project 2025. Now, a lot of you probably aren't gonna sit around and read 920 pages. So what I would suggest as a teacher is go on the internet and find some legal scholars on podcasts and listen to them while you're doing the dishes or the laundry or sitting in the car waiting for your kids to come after practice. But you have to educate yourselves and you have to educate your community, because we're all fighting for TV time. And there ain't a whole lot of TV time for us to even buy if we've got the money. So it's gonna come from you guys. And this is no time to ignore the hot garbage of Project 2025. It is their playbook. We have a state rep that I ran against. You have to work with him. Rodney Creechy is on his Facebook right now. He's running in this area. Again, he is saying it's not real. It's not real. Yes, it is real. It's got a website, it's been funded, and you need to tell people about it. Thank you.
Thank you. Last but not least, I'm pretty tired about hearing about this issue. I'm an independent candidate, not voting for Trump. Not voting for him, never voted for him. I think he's disgusting. But here's the cold hard facts. The Heritage Foundation has been coming up with these stupid plans since 1981. 1981, they've been having all the recommendations for these conservatives to get into office and what they're gonna do and all their ghouls along with them and what they're gonna do. This is no different. Also, if Trump gets in there and does all this totalitarian stuff, don't forget we have the 10th Amendment, which is states' rights. If the federal government comes a knocking and tries to take power and take our elections away, our governor, and then down to our county level with our sheriff, is in charge of protecting our constitutional rights. This Project 2025 is right on time, right before the election. It's made to make Democratic voters forget all about how your price of housing has gone up, how Wall Street is gouging us, how all of our money is being spent on these foreign wars and a couple $100 billion to Ukraine. Well, we got people and veterans living under every bridge. Got teachers quitting to go work at Walmart. Nothing wrong with that, but in my opinion, I think teachers should be one of the highest paid professions in our society. Who's with me? Right? That's right, a couple hands. So, right on cue, they want to scare you. And, you know, look, I'm ready to fight. That's where I'm at. This is why we can't have nice things in our country. They want to make you confused and to keep voting for the lesser of two evils. We don't have high-speed rail. We're killing people overseas. We're turning Gaza into a parking lot on our taxpayer dollar while our politicians look the other way. So, Project 2025, Trump's bad, I get it. But if any totalitarian shit comes our way, we have 10th Amendment, and he would have done it during COVID, if he would have, but he didn't grab power then.
You weren't a teacher, were you? Thank you, candidates, for answering that question. For the county commission candidates, what major policy would you prioritize to improve the quality of life in the people of Dayton and the region? Again, what major policy would you prioritize to improve the quality of life in Dayton and in the region? Come over.
Just in your household, you have to live with the budget that you have. I would start with the budget. I would work towards prioritizing the needs of citizens. Because as many of you know, especially in the African American community and on East End, many citizens are suffering. I know after having been a mayor, I watched citizens have to give up their homes and move out of their homes because they could no longer afford to live in them. Many that were retired, many who had given all to their careers and to serving the community. But in the end, they weren't able to stay in the home that they lived in because of cost. So I say that to say, just looking at our budget and prioritizing the needs of the people in the region, especially the people in the areas that have been looked over, the areas that have been underserved, that all you need to do is drive up and down Salem Avenue and drive through Trotwood. You could start at Corinthian Church and drive from 35 all the way to 49 and see that there has been a huge disinvestment in that community. Those are county roads. And my concern would be that we would look towards equity throughout Montgomery County, because that's what I've not seen. I've seen areas that have grown immensely, and I take nothing away from them. But I know there are areas that have suffered deeply. And I want to represent those. I did that in the city of Trotwood. We were losing. We were failing. We were on our way to bankruptcy. But when I left that office intact. I left it with money and lots going on. And I want to do that same thing as a Montgomery County Commissioner, because again, your voice has not been heard. Your voices have not been seen, and they've not been taken care of. And I do believe that it's our time to challenge that.
There are so many issues, but I would say that number one right now is economic mobility. And again, I represent the county, not the cities. So when my opponent speaks of disinvestment, the county has not disinvested in any parts of our county. We invest. Investment is our tag word. Investing in people, investing in our communities, investing in communities from Trotwood all the way down to Miami Township. But economic mobility, when I talk about my three issues that I focus on, economic justice, environmental justice, and social justice. Economic mobility really is effective in all of those three areas. And when we say economic mobility, what is keeping people from that economic mobility? We have thousands of jobs coming to this community, thousands in the next 2 years. And I'm not exaggerating when I say thousands. And we have to look at how can those people get trained for those new jobs coming here. So through workforce development, which I work on every day. We have affordable, so what's the barrier to workforce? There are three right now: affordable housing, childcare, and transportation. That's why people still in our communities and in our underserved communities as well are not getting those high quality jobs. So we at the county are focusing on how we can make that happen, how we can get people. So whether it's Preschool Promise that I was one of the founders of, whether it's the other investments we do in our infant mortality, whether it's the work that we do making sure that our young people are getting the skills that they need through our programs beyond what they do at school. I don't want to get the bell rung on me, so thank you.
With reproductive rights being pushed back down to the state level, candidates running for the state legislature, what is your position on reproductive rights?
Thank you for that question. You know, I'm a firm believer that politicians need to stay out of the doctor's offices. They've been in doctor's offices for Lord knows how long, and I believe that these decisions are supposed to be made between a patient and a doctor. I don't know about you, but I'm sick and tired of being sick and tired. I was on the ground getting signatures. I was on the ground trying to galvanize voters to vote yes on issue 1 last November. And here's the thing, you know, we have more important issues that we need to focus on here in the state of Ohio. We shouldn't be focusing on trying to take the rights away from women. And these are tough decisions as well. You know, these are at times life-threatening decisions that women have to make. And for us to try to take away their freedoms, you know, as a legislature, as a country, we should be ashamed of ourselves. We should really be ashamed of ourselves. And, you know, with extreme measures like we've been seeing these last few years, I am afraid of what the next few years will look like if we continue to elect extremists who could care less about a woman's right to choose, who could care less about our individual freedoms. Because, yes, this is definitely about women, but then when you think about it, they're trying to take our rights in different areas as well. You know, this is just the beginning. So I am a huge supporter of a woman and a doctor making those decisions, and I believe that politicians need to stay out of the doctor's offices.
Thank you for that question. My North Star in serving, and I consider myself a servant leadership, a servant leader, is the preamble to the Ohio Constitution. I am grateful to Almighty God for the rights to secure the blessings of Ohio and to work together to promote the general welfare. Almighty God gave us divine rights, the right to choose. I believe in a constitutional republic where the people have spoke, and therefore, at this point, we honor the people's decision. And so, reproductive rights is a right of a woman, and it's between her and her doctor and no one else. Thank you.
Well, thank you. This issue was actually the issue that encouraged me to run for office. I remember June 24th of 2022, it was the day that Roe versus Wade was officially overturned. I was driving back from vacation with my family. I have triplets who are 15 now. They were 13 at the time. We were driving back from vacation, and a friend texted me and said, Roe versus Wade is officially overturned, which wasn't a surprise because we'd seen the draft decision that had been leaked. But I remember in that moment, looking in the back of my minivan and seeing my 2 teenage sons and realizing that they now had more rights to their body than I did. And they had more rights to their body than their same-age sister. And I made a decision in that moment that I was not going to raise my daughter or my sons in a state that would take away someone's rights simply because of how they happen to be born. And I think when we talk about reproductive freedom, we have to realize we're not just talking about abortion care. We're talking about reproductive rights and choice across the board. I have triplets. That's a result of fertility treatments. And we see what happens when they attack choice. We saw IVF clinics in Alabama close their doors. And we also need to think about the impacts that this has on women who are already mothers. How many of you know the name Amber Thurman? The woman in Georgia who died because she was denied care at the emergency room. She was turned away in Georgia because the doctors were too afraid to provide care for her. She was a mother of a 6-year-old boy who now does not have a mother. I just saw a statistic that was published 3 days ago in Texas, which has had an abortion ban since 2021. Maternal mortality has increased 56% in the state of Texas. It's increased 11% nationally, but 56% in a state with an abortion ban. That's what happens when we attack women's rights, is we have mothers who don't survive pregnancy and childbirth, and I will stand very firmly on the side of women to make reproductive decisions because it is in their best interest, in the best interest of all of us.
Thank you very much. I'm going to go back to the candidates running for Congress. Even though this issue has been pushed down to the state level, there still is some interest for Congress to pass a national law, access to safe abortion. How would you give me your response to that position?
We absolutely need to pass a law that gives every woman in this country the right to her own healthcare decisions. A lot of women, it's the only healthcare you need is your reproductive healthcare unless you need an antibiotic for something. And it wasn't, your reproductive medications weren't even covered until Obamacare came along. A lot of women were shocked to learn that when you're young and back before 2010, I think when the ACA was passed, if you needed birth control, young women and even some older women, it wasn't, your insurance company didn't have to cover that for you. And for a lot of us, that's the only health care that we need. I would also like to say that 1 in 3 women in this country don't have a right to an abortion. So just look around at all the women in here, pick out one, and just be like, yeah, you don't get reproductive health care because of where you live. That's not the country that we can be. And this whole states' rights thing, I think we've heard this before. Isn't that what the Civil War was about? So we're not gonna pick and choose whose rights we're gonna take away, especially when it comes to healthcare and reproductive freedom. There ain't a woman alive that I've ever met that wants to be bossed around. Not one. And I don't think we need to give people in office, lots of times they're attorneys or business people, any sort of right over what some doctor or nurse practitioner is going to tell us that we need and what we know that we need. That is horrific, and Project 2025 wants to do that, just to give you a little refresher on that. Thank you so much.
Thank you. I'm 100% pro-choice and against all nationwide abortion bans. But I must say on this issue, why I'm running as an independent candidate free of the Republican and Democratic Party is that I am so tired of this and then guns for Republicans being the only issue that propels us and gets people to vote. We are getting taken to the bank by the rich and the powerful in Wall Street while we fight over guns and abortion, okay? Our children are dying. Our people are dying due to lack of investment in this country. The rich and the powerful are stealing all of our money. We could put it into schools. We could put it into cleaning up our environment. We could have high-speed rail from Cincinnati to Columbus to Cleveland. But instead, our roads are falling apart. We got people living under every bridge, but we're voting on abortion. We're voting to protect our gun rights. Those are important. They're killing us though. If you're dead due to pollution in your environment, you don't have rights. If you're dead due to the war on drugs and a fentanyl overdose because our government won't legalize and regulate it like in Switzerland, you're dead. So my campaign, I'm 100% pro-choice, against an abortion ban, but we have got to break out of this cycle, this doom cycle of the rich and the powerful controlling us based on these trigger issues. Please check out my website, look at my campaign. That's what I'm talking about, but 100% against a nationwide abortion ban.
Thank you. We're going to come close to 2 minute last or closing arguments. We generally have to, yes, over here, we have to be out here by 8 o'clock, but we've got a grace period, so I want us to use every bit of the next 15 minutes. Let's go to the congressional candidates, yes or no. Do you support the John Lewis Voting Rights Act? Oh, I'll push the mic down here, didn't I? Okay.
I'm not sure what's in it, but I support everyone's voting rights, discrimination against anybody for voting. I think 100% people should, the working class, we should make it easier for people to vote. We should make voting day a national holiday. We should give people paid time off to go and vote. We should increase resources to open up more precincts and locations for people to vote. We should encourage people to vote. I would even be for lowering the voting age in this country to get the youth involved and bring them back into politics and teaching it in high school. We have voter discrimination going on in this country. When I think back to Jim Crow and from 1890 to 1965, the pain and the toll that did in this country, denying people basic voting rights, that's something we should never go back. So in a nutshell, that's how I feel. We need to make voting way more accessible. 30 days voting, 100% is good. I would support that.
For the sake to save time, I absolutely would support the John Lewis Voting Rights Act if it is brought in front of me. Voting is important. We are not a truly free nation unless everyone's voice is heard, and it would certainly get rid of a lot of the shenanigans that the Republicans are pulling if we can get that passed. But if you vote for me and we flip the House, we'll have it passed. Guarantee it.
Thank you. Let's go this way now. Closing arguments. 2 minutes. Tell us whatever you want, okay? 2 minutes.
Thank you. Again, I'm Elizabeth Ellis, and I'm judge of the Court of Common Pleas. In order for you to make your decision about what candidate you want to vote for the Court of Common Pleas, you should know what the Common Pleas Court does.
So the Common Pleas Court presides over adult felony cases from low-level drug and theft offenses all the way up to felonious assault, homicide cases. We preside over civil litigation, and the bulk of our docket is actually civil litigation. It's about 1/3 criminal, 2/3 civil. And it is contract litigation, mortgage foreclosure, personal injury, construction litigation, medical malpractice, workers' compensation claims, administrative appeals. And I am a unique candidate because I have extensive experience in both criminal and civil law. I have been a career public servant. I was an assistant prosecutor for 21 years, where I was able to really have deep and broad experience in all of those issues. And not only have I practiced and litigated these cases in front of the court, I have represented the court as head of the civil division for the prosecutor's office. So I understand the unique legal needs and the cases that come before the judge. And I've been holding this office for over a year. And I have to say, there are 11 Common Pleas Court judges in the general division. And I am proud to say that I have the most efficient docket of all of the 11 judges, despite being the newest judge to the court. And that's because I have the experience. I know what I'm doing,
I treat everybody with dignity and respect, and I'm stopping. Thank you, and I appreciate your vote.
Well, thank you again for the opportunity to be here with you all. Thank you all for coming out. I'm Judy, Mauk, and I'm a candidate for Montgomery County Common Pleas Judge. I'm a Dayton native, born and raised. I actually went to kindergarten here at Grace United back in the early 80s. And I am a graduate of Chaminade Julienne, University of Dayton, undergrad and law school. I have been in the community and serving the community in several ways. Servant leadership was instilled in me as a high schooler at Chaminade. That continued through University of Dayton and has continued to this day as I've served as a Montgomery County public defender since 2011. As a public defender, I've worked in the courts of Montgomery County representing citizens of Montgomery County. I have been able to see what the needs are in each of the jurisdictions, whether it was Kettering Municipal Court, Vandalia Municipal Court, Trotwood, Huber Heights, Oakwood, or Dayton Municipal. I've seen how both law enforcement, prosecutors, and judges, what their priorities are, what they need, and where things are lacking. And one of the reasons I decided to run was because I felt that there were times when we were not seeing the whole person that was coming into court. We were not hearing the voices, whether it was the defendant, whether it was the victim, whether it was the prosecutor or the defense attorney. And when we don't listen to all the voices speaking, when we don't see all of the people, the whole person in front of us, not just what brought them into court, we are doing them a disservice and we are doing our community a disservice. I want to make sure we look at the whole person, that we address what needs to be addressed, we hold people accountable, but if we can better the outcomes by connecting defendants with resources, we better the outcome for them, we better the outcome for their community. So that would be my goal if elected your next Montgomery County Common Pleas Judge. Thank you.
Let me continue. Let me change it up a bit. It's 8 o'clock. Let's do our 1 minute elevator speech. Elevator speech. You got it? You got to do that on the campaign trail, right? So you got to give your 1 minute elevator speech. Timer, 1 minute. Okay.
The elevator just started moving faster. Okay. I'm Rose Lounsbury, running for state representative in House District 36, which includes Kettering, Oakwood, Riverside, East Dayton, and downtown Dayton. Also, Grace United Methodist Church is my church home, so we would love to have you back on Sunday if you would like to come back. So a little bit of my background: I am a former public school teacher. I currently own a small business, and I am a mom of triplets. My children are really the reason that I'm running. I'm running because I want to create a state that my kids and yours are going to want to live in someday. My parents were both public school teachers as well, and they taught me the value of listening to people. As your next state representative, there's nothing more important to me than listening to people. I want to work to create in Ohio with a strong public education system, a place where we all have the personal freedom to have our voices heard at the ballot box and our private medical decisions respected in our doctor's offices, and a place with an economy focused on the future. And to me, the future looks like green energy, union jobs, and a fair tax system. That's the kind of Ohio I want to live in, and I hope you can live in it with me by voting for me. Thank you.
Very quickly, I have been humbled and honored to serve as your state school board rep. One of the things you'll know about me, I'm a fighter. I have over 40 years of executive leadership experience being the voice for the voiceless, the people who are not at the table when policies are being made and appropriations of dollars are being done. The one thing I am not afraid of is to represent you and speak truth to power. And I have been the voice for our children's success. Now I purpose to be the voice for our good. What does that good mean? A voice for our secured freedom, a voice for our sanctity of life, a voice for strong families, a voice for successful children, a voice for a soaring economy, a voice for a safe community. You know why? Because that's what is going to be needed for the next generation. I'm talking about how do we invest now for the future leaders of Ohio. Together, we win.
Thank you all so much. Once again, Willis BLACKSHEAR Jr., State Representative of Ohio State House District and candidate for State Senate District 6. You know, every day we get a chance and a choice. This November, we get a chance and a choice to elect a senator who's going to fight for us. For far too long, this district has been represented by extremists in the State House. Those who are out of touch with the needs that our community has. I look to continue to work like I've been doing in the State House, showing up to the meetings, talking to our community leaders, going to the schools, hearing the needs of my constituents. I tell people all the time, I don't run from no smoke. I serve you, you don't serve me. And I think that is the problem with our elected officials today. They feel like the people work for them. I work for you, I'm a public servant at heart. You all know my story, so I'm not gonna repeat it, and I don't have enough time to repeat it. But what I will say is I'm a public servant at heart, and it has been my honor and privilege to serve you over in the House, and I look forward to doing the same over in the Senate, because guess what? I'm working for an Ohio that works for all of us.
I'm Amy Cox. I'm a mom, teacher, and scientist. I spent 15 years in public schools teaching high school science. I have a strong union background. I am now a small business owner of Guided by Mushrooms. I am one of the co-owners of Guided by Mushrooms. So not only do I know what it's like to serve the public, but I'm also a business owner and a job creator in this area. One of the reasons I got into running for office, keep it real short, is when you serve a community and you're a public school teacher, you basically enter an arranged marriage with that community. And when you see what policy does in the faces of kids sitting in your classroom, you become real offended by it. So as a scientist, I researched why is it I am seeing more poverty, more stress, more families that are becoming more homeless, and it came down to right-to-work legislation. And fast forward a decade, and now they're coming after our rights, your rights, and everyone else's rights. So this Project 2025 crap, guys, that started long ago. They're just really, really bold with it and putting it in print. Thank you so much.
Thank you. My name is Michael Harbaugh. I'm actually a food truck owner here out of Kettering, Ohio. Never run for office before, if you can't tell. You know, there's a guy by the name of Mike Turner, which is the reason why I decided to run for office. Never done a town hall, never done a debate, ignores his constituents, and been on the wrong side of history his entire 20 years. Anyone else think that? Yeah? Seriously, he's absolutely the worst. He's a warmonger. He's in bed with the rich and the powerful, and I decided to do something about it. There's about 800,000 people that live in this district, and nobody ever runs as an independent. Trust is at an all-time low with our elected politicians. That's why I decided to run my campaign with only a $200 max donation. I'm also pledging to donate $50,000 of my congressional salary, if elected, to charity, if elected. We've got to restore trust in these politicians, and I'm sick of it. If you want to fight her, vote for me.
Let's go this way now.
Thank you for this evening. I have been a trusted advocate for Montgomery County, and this campaign, I kind of had three things: service, investment, and justice. And service, I've been a public servant since graduating from law school, and 25 years ago, I realized my mission was to give those without a voice. And I've been trying to do that since I started. I talked about justice. Economic justice, I talked a little bit about already, but social justice, the work that I do in reentry. I started the Office of Reentry in Montgomery County, and very proud of that work. I know people in this church know a lot about it. I have worked on equity, especially after COVID, and we saw what happened with broadband and with those in our community that can't afford broadband, and so we now are launching our new broadband effort under my leadership. And one of the other things is infant mortality. Thank you.
1 minute, Tom. Talk about everything in 1 minute.
My name is Mary McDonald, and many of you followed me. You followed the work that we did in the city of Trotwood. I'm running for office for you. Many of you have not had a voice within Montgomery County. Many of you, rather than to have a brick and mortar restaurant, you've had a food truck And while we appreciate that, I want what happens in other areas of Montgomery County that are not happening in our community. Many of those things have happened as a result of the hard work of working together to make things happen. I also want you to know, when I look at the current county commissioners, I see 3 individuals that care about the county, but I see 3 individuals with the same voice. I'm offering a different voice. I'm offering the opportunity for the first time ever an elected minority to the Montgomery County Commission. The first time ever. This is 2024, and it takes all of us to be at the table. And I want your vote, please.
Well, thank you everybody again for a wonderful evening, and to President Forward, Senator Roberts, and the whole team at NAACP. Again, I'm John McManus, and I'm proud to serve as your county treasurer. And over the past 8 years, whether as a member of the Dayton Board of Education or as county treasurer, my goal has been to serve in a dignified but an effective way. And I'm really proud that over the last 3 years, I've led a bipartisan team in the county building that's had really significant impact at the treasurer's office. Lord, 30 seconds. Okay, I want to tell you, all of our metrics are up and everything is going incredibly well in your treasurer's office. Our prepayment plans that are helping families budget, enrollment is through the roof. When I came into office, 30,000 properties in Montgomery County were tax delinquent to the tune of $250 million. Taxpayers were being taken advantage of. At the end of this year, we will have collected $130 million in delinquent taxes. We're bringing order to the tax roll, and we're respecting those who pay their taxes. We're contributing a lot of money to the land bank to clean up neighborhoods and tear down neglected and abandoned properties. It's an honor. Thank you, everybody.
Thank you, everybody, for showing up this evening. Again, my name is Mike Foley. I'm proud to be a leader in this community. I'm proud to be your clerk of courts, and I'm proud of the work that we've done thus far. In just over 5 years, we've added 10 new services. These are non-mandated services. These are convenient services for people like you, and we are giving back to our community with a tune of $10 million over 5.5 years, so we're really proud of that. Some of those services that we're talking about is a legal help center for you to get resources and information on categories involving law. On top of that, we started a TSA program. Because we do so many passports a month, we wanted to do TSA because there's been a big request for that. We're the only ones in Montgomery County doing that. Same for boat registrations. We do boat titles. Makes sense that we do registrations, but no one wanted to do those in Montgomery County, so we added that. On top of that, we do something called Connecting with the Community, and I'm extremely proud of this program. It's at the EOC, and we got to go with it. Come out and see us.
All right. So, my name again is Lynn Cooper, and I'm running for the clerk's office. I've stressed over and over that I have a passion for public service. I learned from the absolute best, from Dan Foley, who hired me, no relation to this Foley. So from Dan Foley and Greg Brush, I had tremendous leadership there that taught me how to really serve the public. I believe that the taxpayers, the citizens of this county, deserve an ethical leader that's going to serve with integrity. I believe in fiscal responsibility to make sure that I'm not hiring just friends, that I'll hire union members. I am a proud former union member and endorsed by many of the unions. And again, public servant. I'm not a bureaucrat. I am a servant, and my leadership style is that of a servant leader where I am here for you. So I hope you'll vote Cooper for clerk. I get that tongue twister sometimes, but Cooper for clerk in November of 24.
Thank you again for holding this forum. Again, I'm STACEY Benson-Taylor, your Montgomery County reporter, and under my leadership, we have had a position of it is our responsibility to not just serve the community, but to connect with the community and to connect the community with the resources that we have available in our office. And we have done that through all of our programs. We are protecting homes. We are providing resources. We are bringing our programs to the community. We are in our local churches. We are in our senior centers. We're in our neighborhoods, because accessibility and availability are not the same. And it does not matter what any of us have available. If we are not making it accessible, then we are not doing a service to you as our community. And so as your reporter, in order for me to continue the work that I've done, you have to keep me in office. I am a lifelong Dayton resident. I live in this community. I work in this community, and I will continue to serve this community.
This was an example of equity. Everyone had 1 minute and they did it wisely. Thank you all. Let's give them a round of applause. Thank you all for being here. I will do some housekeeping things. I have some issue 1 signs in my car. So if anyone wants to issue 1 sign, come to my car and I'll give it to you. If you don't know what issue 1 is, this is Citizens Redistricting Panel. It will be on November ballot. And what that will do, it will take redrawing the districts out of the hands of politicians and put it into the hands of 15 citizens. 5 Democrats, 5 Republicans, and 5 who are non-affiliated. Issue 1 will be on the ballot. President Forward, we want to remind you that voting begins October 8th. October 8th. So you have a few more days to convince somebody in your family who is not a registered voter or has moved. We have thousands of people removed from the voting rolls because of what's called purging. Make sure you ask that family member, have you voted in the last 3 federal elections, not presidential, federal elections. So that's 6 years. 2, 2, and 2. Gary Leplow often reminds me that I don't see anything about the U.S. Ohio Supreme Court candidates. Please take a look at those candidates.